This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I are back talking about college football, specifically the college football playoff. We're talking about how this past weekend showed that the home field advantage is truly real, and also, was adding 4 extra teams or 8 extra teams even worth it? That's up to debate, but also how Ohio State truly came out of its shell and dominated a Tennessee team. All that and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to an episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben. That's Josh, and we want to wish you a Merry Christmas. This is coming out on Christmas Day-ish, so we want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I hope it's been full of snow here in Hungary. It's just like snow hits the rooftops and then it just melts, so it's just like water everywhere. The gloriousness of weather and global warming and whatever you want to call it. But anyways, Josh, how are you doing? How are you doing in this Christmas atmosphere? Is how's any movies you've been watching? What have you been doing here as you're getting ready to open those gifts up on the 25th?
Man, since the last time we recorded, I've been working just about every day, so I haven't actually gotten to add to the Christmas movie tally. But tonight is my last night, and then I get
There
3
you
days
go.
off in a row: Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the day after Christmas.
That's
So
nice.
I'll be hopefully catching up on a lot of those. I still need to watch the Jim Carrey Grinch movie,
Oh, that's
but
a good one.
guess I'm saving that one for maybe the big day. But yeah, as far as everything else, just trying to stay warm. It's been mostly cold here. We
Yeah,
have
it's been cold here too.
slush and melted snow right now, but
I
yeah,
just I,
that's
I miss Ohio. Slush, melted snow, and cold. And just lovely around that time of year.
yeah,
No, I
can't
guess
beat it.
this year, but I guess this year as well, you don't really have to watch Christmas. You can watch the NBA and the NFL on Christmas Day. I mean, you could just have a full slate of sports if you wanted to.
It's a lot of action, and those NFL games are on Netflix, so I'm wondering how that's going to work since they had a hard time just, keeping service up during the Jake Paul fight. They're going to have even a bigger turnout, I would guess, for
But
the NFL.
and you even think about like the ones that are just wanting to watch Christmas movies, like just like the people that are normally just wanting to just want to
Right.
do a normal thing. I'm very interested to see how that goes as
Then all the
well.
boys
Yeah,
are trying to watch, yeah, the NBA at this time and then the NFL at that time. And
dude, what a time to be alive, really, truly. Um,
watching live sports on Netflix.
who would have thought? Who would have thought when they used to get Netflix in the little case and you used to have a CD that you had to go return? Like it's crazy how
Hmm.
far technology's come. But you know what has not come so far is the college football playoff because it's what we thought it was going to be. So, Josh, why don't you hit us up with? We can kind of break down these games. Let's before we break down the games, Josh, let's give our opening thoughts on this because I just wanted to come out and say this. Can we try to like have a better judgment scale on who should be in the playoff? Like that's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying you have to have, you know, the best teams in every conference. I'm just saying let's just bring teams that are actually worth being there. That's all I'm going to leave it as. You can see it how you want, but maybe figure that out. Josh, what's your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
in the spirit of avoiding revisionist history, I did think there would be one upset that I called, and I thought most of the games would be relatively close. Maybe one spread actually gets covered. But as it turns out, Ben, as you said, I don't know if it's a matter of these teams didn't deserve to be in the 12-team playoff because the resumes of the other teams that got left out are still
Or worse,
unchanged.
yeah.
But there's just
Home
not
field
12 teams
advantage.
that deserve to be here.
No.
And I was impressed by, I guess, how much maybe the home field swung things, but we had blowouts in the 4-team playoff. And I don't know why anybody thought just adding worse teams
Yeah,
in
adding
would
adding teams
somehow
that
get
adding
rid of
teams that
the
can't
the
beat good
blowouts.
teams. Like
Yeah,
adding teams that
so
can't beat good teams.
the way that this was all handled, like you start off with Indiana Notre Dame, and Indiana ends up just losing by
Dude,
10, but
Indiana.
everybody's talking about how they were outclassed, like they didn't play anybody. It showed when they had to go against Notre Dame, and then you get SMU and Penn State the next day, and it's, similarly, I think Penn State jumped to a 28-0 lead at one point, and they're just like, yeah, SMU should have been left out, and we should have had Alabama and Ole Miss and something
Also,
like
Lane
that.
Kiffin needs to shut up, by the way. Just dude, your team
Well,
wasn't
he
good enough.
did. He did in the evening when one of the SEC teams. It's so weird too, just seeing like how all these SEC schools like stick
Complain.
together and root for
They're like
each other
complaining.
like that. Like all the top level guys, everybody's rooting for some reason. But yeah, then Tennessee comes out, gets smoked, and we don't hear a single word about
It's
how
very funny.
the SEC is far and away
Yeah,
like,
it's very
you
funny.
know, hypothetical matchups the SEC, I'm sure, is still undefeated in. But as far as the actual results on the field, I think Tennessee now has lost 23 straight top 10 road matchups.
Yeah.
or something like that. They said it's a very long streak, but and then I didn't even get into the Texas Clemson game. That was the game that I thought Clemson had a shot at. And instead, Texas embarrassed me again, but instead they played the
I,
way they
I love
should have
how they
been
flip
playing
it on you,
all
man.
season
They
long.
flip it
Yeah,
on you, man.
exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, I think this just showed that
uh,
home environments are
they do
awesome
matter.
and they
They
do
matter, man.
matter. And secondly, just yeah, there's not 12 teams that belong. So that's why we
No,
had like these big like
no. We
these
both
teams are
said,
overmatched.
Josh. We both said that we thought 8-team playoff was the best because it doesn't necessarily give really teams that don't not deserve it, but just don't can't compete, and it gives you like the end of like where it needs to be. If you look at Ohio State being the 8th seed, like those 8 teams are good competitive teams. You don't need these other four. Like, what are you gonna do? 16 teams next? Because then at that point, you're just adding teams that just literally shouldn't be on this face of the earth with
Yeah,
these other
like
teams.
we did not need to play those games to, they weren't necessary in figuring out who the champion of
No.
college football should be.
Well,
It
well, but
was,
but it's also too, Josh, where it's like my frustration is that the only frustration I have with the way it is set up now, like okay, these first games, okay, cool, we know what's gonna happen. Is like just the seeding in general. Like I know we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but like Oregon should be getting the best team out of the bunch, right? Like why can't it be like college basketball where you're number 1 seed and you get, you know, probably one of the I guess in college basketball it's the same way in a sense. But I don't know. I feel like you should get the worst team, but that's besides the point. But anyways.
the other thing too is these aren't even like the 12 best teams that we put in. Clemson
Mm.
was not ranked in the top 12. They're in
No.
simply because they won the ACC, and same with Arizona State simply because they won the Big 12.
Dude,
So
how would it be nice to get your second game against Boise State and freaking Arizona State? Wow. Just
it
wow.
would be pretty cool, yeah. But yeah, let's go ahead and I guess go
Yeah,
game
let's
by
review
game
these. Yeah,
here
yeah.
for what we saw. The Notre Dame IU game. It was much more one-sided, but garbage time, Indiana was able to close the gap, and they actually had the smallest margin of defeat out of all the teams this week, even though I think they took the
Cincinnati needs to
most
shut up.
beating.
That's all I gotta say. He just
He
needs
was
to let me
not
shut
he
up,
was
man.
not very aggressive. Listening to why they did not punt late in the
Just so
game is because the
dumb, dude.
offense had no faith in the offense whatsoever, and the defense was
What
the
a
only thing that could do anything. So,
what a way to put your coaches under the bus. What a
yeah,
way to
I
be
mean,
like, hey,
it
you
is a
guys
way.
suck.
But hey, how it went is exactly how I thought it would. The cold
Yeah.
weather environment, being at South Bend, Notre Dame being strong on the run and also strong on stopping the run.
Notre Dame did lose their best defensive tackle, by the way. I just found that out. So
I
he is
learned
done for the
too.
year.
I learned too the day of that both of their starting corners were gonna miss, and then the spread actually closed down to 5.5 points for that one. But
Yeah.
yeah, they didn't come out totally unscathed, but Notre Dame did look tough, and now they get to move on and play the Georgia Bulldogs. So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know if there's anything else you
No,
wanted to add or
I just
anything you
think
noticed,
I just
surprised by?
don't I just don't think Indiana's I don't know if they'll be ready. I looked at the numbers. I guess they're losing like 29 guys or something like that for next year. They're because of all these transfers they brought in. I just again, I go back to saying this, Josh, and I know we've touched on this before, is that I teams that build by the transfer portal, it's in the late times of the year, so the playoff or bowl games. We've said it before. It's really hard for them to build chemistry. Like I kind of noticed they like you looked at Notre Dame, like they were cohesive, they had cohesion, they were ready. I feel like Indiana at times it's just like a bunch of dudes trying to play football to win a game, like by themselves in a sense. So I'm very interested to see how Indiana can do this next year, or are they going to be like a Mississippi State, where they were in the top 6 or 7 and then disappeared off a map, right? Like back in 2014 or whatever it was. So I'm interested to see how this goes for them.
Yeah, I was actually looking at portal rankings the other day, and Colorado is one of those teams that still has like 45 something commits coming in.
Just
So
so,
they're not
dude.
changing the way they do things over
But
there
they're
either.
also not. But they're also not going 10-1 or 11-1, right?
Right,
So
not yet.
that's
I
where
think
I'm
I
going.
think Oregon's got it perfect right now.
Yeah, they
They
take enough
got
guys. Yeah,
they got the number one class as of right now for 26. They got the fifth ranked
they did
class for
lose.
25.
They did lose a 5-star though just yesterday. So, ooh,
Okay. So that'll probably reflect that. And then 24's class was ranked, I think, third,
yeah.
but they're still ranking top five in portal commits
But they
too.
take
Like
what they. It's kind of like Ohio State, Georgia, and Oregon do it right, where they take the guys they need, but they don't just take guys because they want to take guys.
they don't
Like
need to fill up bodies because
no,
they're losing a bunch of bodies. Yeah, like most of the core is still built through
like you build
actual recruiting.
normal recruiting and then you
Yeah.
go from there. But yeah, that's all I got on that game.
Yeah. Moving on to Penn State SMU, which kicked off our Saturday. As I was saying earlier, yeah, this one did
Yeah.
start off with Penn State up 28 to nothing at half. Uh, SMU's quarterback Jennings had only one touchdown, three picks in this one. Drew
He
Aller
looked
didn't
like
have to
he
do
looked
a
like a
whole
little
lot of
kid.
work.
He looked like
Yeah,
a little kid out there.
Drew Aller didn't actually have to do a whole lot of
No.
work. As
No.
Penn State prefers, it was the run game, and Katron Allen got two rushing touchdowns, and Nicholas Singleton got one himself. And I'm sure that Penn State also was able to capitalize on that field position from all the turnovers. Three turnovers by SMU, just one by Penn State. So yeah, when you get a lot of extra possessions and shoot yourself in the foot like that, it's going to be hard to overcome, especially in a big, tough Penn State
Yeah.
environment like that.
I I guess my first my I would say worry. I have a Penn State friend that he said the one thing he's worried about is the fact that once again they're relying on the run, and then these big games come around and they just can't do anything offensively. Because I think there's even Penn State fans, and I don't know this for sure, but I feel like there's Penn State fans that are even still doubting Drew Aller. Like big games, like this was okay. This was a big game, but geez, I
But he
mean,
was 13 of
like,
22. He didn't even have 150
but
yards, but he didn't need to because they had two
yeah,
defensive scores. They had the running scores.
yeah. I
Like
guess my thing is like
SMU basically made it easy for them. He didn't have to do a whole lot.
I heard someone say like, "Oh, Franklin won the big one." I'm like, "This is a big one. This
It's
was
a
not the
playoff
big
game.
one." Oh, goodness, don't get me started
This
on
is
that.
the best team that
Like,
they've beaten all year.
yes, I agree, but there, I just, it's just because I know that Penn State's going to go and probably lay an egg at one of these games, and we're going to go, "Oh, that's the normal Penn State." Because Drew Aller, he's so inconsistent. He has one game where he looks like, oh wow, this guy's one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten, and then you're going, oh yeah, that's right, that's Drew Aller. And so I don't know which one you're going to get every single game. And again, the defense played well. I guess Penn State's defense is good, and but the worry is can they compete on the offensive end is what we'll be seeing in the future. But then also going to SMU, like, did you not want to show up? Like, did you just decide just not to go play a game because it looked like the most brutal? Like, it just looked like you guys were just out there like little kids playing touch flag football. Like, it really, that's what it seemed like. It just looked like you didn't really have the oomph that you needed to win this game.
Yeah, I mean SMU didn't beat a ranked team all season, and the ones that they
And
did
you
play,
said that.
BYU, they
You
lost
said that
by
all
three.
year.
Clemson, they lost by one on that game-winning field goal. So Penn State was also kind of in the same boat. It's like the ranked teams that they played were Ohio State and
Illinois.
Oregon. They lost to both of them, and then when you try to find their best win, it's hard. And Texas was in the same boat most of the season too. There were a lot of teams that was like, okay, well, by eye test, I guess we're assuming that they're good, and you could say based on the playoff games that Texas, who we'll talk about next, was solid, and Penn State was solid. Like the eye tests were, I guess, proving valid there, but we just had people had doubts about Indiana, SMU, and I mean, like we've been saying, there's not 12 teams that should be in this anyways, but out of the field, it's like they did belong comparatively to everybody else. But yeah, just outclassed by a much better, stronger Penn State team.
Yeah.
Texas Clemson.
Mm.
Yeah, so I was feeling solid. This was one that I actually got to watch the first half of before I had to go into work. And when I seen that Clemson drive that started things off, I was thinking, okay, here are the Tigers, man. Williams caught a 22-yard pass from Klubnik, put him up 7-0, and then he did the night-night gesture, Ben,
Which was a
with 8 minutes
mistake. We
still left in the
know.
first quarter.
We know not to do
And
that.
Texas proceeded to score three straight touchdowns from Wisner and from Blue, their running backs. And Clemson just never was able to recover. They went into half down 28 to 10. But this was a I think a solid statement from Texas. I had been doubting their offense. It had not scored, or it had only scored more than 20 points once out
Yeah.
of the last four games that they had played. The Georgia game didn't show me anything to make me confident and feel good about Texas. But as it turns out, Jaden Blue, two touchdowns. Quintravion Wisner, two touchdowns. Ewers is efficient. One touchdown, one pick, 202 yards, but doesn't miss too many passes. And the Longhorns come out with a victory.
Yeah.
Man, Klubnik had a high volume game, but that was mostly just because they couldn't run the football. They finished with just 76 yards on the ground, and Texas ended up with 292 and four of their scores on the ground. But yeah, Clemson, Yeah, I guess I expected more from Clemson out of everybody in the field. I mean, I did pick them to win it. I thought this would maybe be the closest game, but yeah. Anything to add to that?
No, I was just watching my dog was just randomly staring at Fafa. You all
Oh,
right over there? Just randomly, just her butt's right there. It's just a little weird. Anyways, just awkwardly standing there. Um, no, Clemson's been that team. And I think we said at the beginning of the year, like, what are they going to do? Like they look good at times, like the SMU game, like look good, but then they're like, huh? It's like that. And also, since the game, or before the game, Dabo signed his first transfer ever, which was like, oh my,
hmm,
what's going to
yeah.
happen now? No, I just think Texas had the better athletes at times, I think. And also, Clemson, if you do the night night thing before the fourth quarter, we all know that's just a curse for the rest of the game just to go bad. So, yeah, I just think Texas, they didn't look great, but I feel like they, again, kind of did what they had to do to win. So that's where I would say Texas is where they need to be right now.
Yeah, their offensive line had some bumps and bruises too. I don't know how many of those are going to be like impactful for their next game, but not, I don't think anybody like had to leave permanently or anything. But
Yeah,
yeah, two top 10 talent rosters, but it looks like Texas, I mean, is developing better. Clemson
yeah,
against the ranked teams that they played this year. SMU was their only ranked win. They got
wild.
outclassed by Georgia. They lost the game to Louisville that they had no business losing, and they
Outclass
lost
is
a close
nice
one
to
to
say
South Carolina.
that Georgia game. Outclass is a very nice way to put that Georgia game.
Yeah.
It's more like a annihilation.
But we got to end the day with Tennessee at Ohio State. And the
Yes,
Tennessee
sir.
takeover, I mean, there was more orange than I expected to see, but it wasn't anywhere close to the 30 or
No,
40% that
it
people were
was.
guessing.
People always forget that there's also 105,000 that could fit in there. So people forget that quite a bit.
They called the Ohio Stadium Neyland North on
Yeah,
Apple Maps.
I'm sure that just pissed off every single
There
Ohio
was
State player.
a lot of talking throughout the week for a team that finally made the playoff because they expanded it to 12. Their best season has been basically participation trophies since they've been quote unquote back. But even still,
Yep.
Tennessee on paper was supposed to be one of the better defenses that Ohio State went up against. I know Dylan Sampson, their running back, didn't get to play in this one or got hurt, but still, Ohio State had a statement to make. And I guess if you're Ohio State on one hand, you can be mad that this game plan was nowhere to be seen in the Michigan game, or you can feel more confident going forward when you got to play Oregon. And I mean, as we talked about before, the bracket, the way it was drawn up, Ohio State, if they win the national championship, is going to definitely have to earn it with the field that they're going to have to go through. But if you can do that to Tennessee, man,
No, I honestly believe this. I look as an Ohio State fan, and I know Josh, we've talked about this. I'm probably as most critical as most people when I come on here. I try to say how it is. And you remember last week, I was like confident, but I was also kind of like, we'll see, type that vibe that I didn't really know what was going on.
even me, I thought Ohio State
Yeah.
wins, but I thought Tennessee points would hit.
But look, in the O line, I was very worried about the O line. And by the way, Luke Montgomery, guy who's barely played all year, was pancaking 340-pound linemen from Tennessee. He was making dudes from the SEC, and I think one thing that I truly believe this, I think generally there were a lot of players that were very, very mad, not only at the Michigan game, because they had a team meeting not too long after the Michigan game, and I think that really cleared up some things, but also generally just about the way the media talks about Ohio State, the way the fans from Tennessee were going to claim they were going to take over the horseshoe, and Ohio State players were like, what do you got to what? Who have you beat all year? What have you ever proved? And also, let's just point this out too. And I agree when someone said this, it was a podcast I was listening to, it was like the weakest thing you can do is take your shirts off in the freaking cold and look tough. Like go get hydrated, get like loose, like do something other than just taking your shirts off and then putting them on 20 minutes later because you got your photo shoot done, right? Um,
We're not
I,
afraid of the cold. We can
I,
handle it, even though we're
by
down
the way,
south
as
in
you
the
look at Ohio
SEC.
State, who are just like, covered and everything, but no, I think generally Ohio State came in, they were meaner, They were more physical. They cared. I mean, I saw runs from Travion and Judkins I hadn't seen since week 3. The linemen were just bulldozing SEC linebackers, SEC defense linemen. Now, I'm not saying it was perfect. There were moments there, but James Pierce, who was supposed to be a top 10 pick, you didn't even hear his name called, right? Like, what Ohio State did is like, said, okay, you know what? This game plan that we have tonight was what we should have probably had against Michigan, because I can tell you this, Josh, there is no one that can guard J.J. Smith. There is no one on God's green earth that can take him one-on-one, because he made a all SEC guy look terrible. Travion Henderson looked like the Travion Henderson from freshman year. And if that's the Travion you got for the playoff, plus Judkins, plus Smith, but plus Will Howard looking like the Will Howard we thought he was a couple weeks ago, dude, if Ohio State has the offense figured out and the defense plays like the way it has been playing, I'm just saying, I don't know a team that can beat them head on. And if you're Oregon, that is what you're scared of, because you have an offense that if Donovan Jackson keeps playing good at left tackle and you have these guys in the interior that are starting to figure it out, dude, I just, it is so fun to watch. And this defense, man, Caleb Downs and Ransom are two of the most fun dudes to watch on the football field. They're flying around, hitting people. Simon broke Imalama's, whatever, Nico's head, right? Basically cracked his helmet. Dude, at the end of the day, I truly believe that with Ohio State, it comes down to execution and just being the best team that you are. And I think just putting the guys out there and putting them in spots to win is just phenomenal. And the fact that Tennessee fans were just, by the way, I heard from people inside the stadium, and the Tennessee fans were so obnoxious the whole pregame, the whole week. And then so many of them left early. And I would have just loved to sit there and just smile. Like, just as you're walking out and being like, you thought you would walk in here and plant a flag. And we said, no, this is ours. And Jack Sawyer and JT probably played their best games as a Buckeye. And Jack Sawyer needed this. I really loved seeing it for him. And Ryan Day also, hats off to Ryan Day. Like, just, he did what he did with the Georgia game and what he did with the Clemson game in 2020. He said, I'm going to prove who I am. Now, Ryan, this is coming from me. Just do that every game. Like, let's stop picking when we do it and just do it.
Yeah, I think that's where some of the frustration can come from, because it seems like Ryan Day plays pretty vanilla most of the regular season, but then when you actually do have a must-win game, or when his job is being called into
It's
question
wild.
by the fan base, then he comes out and just does what you know the team is capable of doing every single week, but just for whatever reason decided to do it in the last minute or whatever. But I thought the same thing. Is like, this was not the game plan that they called against Michigan.
No.
In fact, they just stuck with what their strength is: get the ball to the wide NFL wide receivers outside. Jeremiah Smith, over 100 yards and
Abuka.
2 touchdowns. Will Howard actually, kind of out of character for him, played pretty well, even throwing deep. I think he was 3 of 4 on passes over 20 yards, and I think 4 of 5 on the 10 to 20 range,
Yeah.
something like that. But
82%
mostly
completion
an
percentage.
yeah, mostly an efficiency guy, but yeah, was also able to sling it downfield against what you just said. Very good corners over on Tennessee. They got a good defense, and this is what we always thought the Buckeye offense could do. And I also agree, like, the offensive line, for uh, having as many big names missing, like you've been missing Simmons, had to play that game without McLaughlin at center, and you didn't allow a single sack, and you ran the ball very well with Judkins and Henderson. Like, there's a lot to like after watching this game. And hey, man, the Oregon game is going to be a lot of fun, I think,
No,
which we can go ahead and
Oregon's probably so mad right now.
we can probably go ahead and talk about that now,
Yeah, let's
because
do it.
yeah, the next matchups, I think Friday is Boise State and Penn State, and then the Saturday slate will be, as I said,
No,
Notre
it's
Dame and
Tuesday,
Georgia.
right? No, it's
Or
Tuesday,
Tuesday,
right?
excuse me,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tuesday. It's
Tuesday will be
weird, guys. It's
Boise.
weird. The whole schedule's weird.
Tuesday, New Year's Eve will be Boise State and Penn State, and then New Year's Day on Wednesday will be Georgia and Notre Dame. We'll get Texas and Arizona State, and we'll get Oregon and Ohio State.
Mm. I love New Year's, dude. I don't know about you, man. I loved waking up on New Year's when I was a kid, eating some good breakfast, watching the New Year's Day parade, and then watching bowl games on
The
New Year's
bowl
Day.
games,
Oh,
yes,
so much fun.
so much fun, yeah. Um, believe Ohio State and Oregon are also going to be playing at the Rose Bowl, right?
Yeah, which is hilarious because it's a former Pac-12 team and a Big Ten team
Yeah.
going
I
at
mean,
it in the
this
Rose
has been
Bowl.
a Rose Bowl matchup a couple times throughout our childhood.
Yeah, it's just great. I
And
love
now
it.
it's
I just absolutely
conference
love it, man.
teams playing in a playoff game. Yeah, we've really evolved. But yeah, so I mean, it is still on the West Coast, but neutral field this time. When it was on Oregon's home field, y'all only lost by one. How much more confident are you feeling after the
Um,
Tennessee
well,
shellacking?
I don't think it's the Tennessee game. I think just defensively they're different, right? The Oregon game, they did not put pressure. There was no blitzing, there was no mixed coverages. It was just very kind of vanilla because I think that's kind of what Knowles and Ryan Day and a couple other guys were just like disagreeing about. And now Ryan Day said, "No, we're doing this." And yeah, I think the defense is a lot better, and I think it's gonna be really hard for Oregon. Like Denzel Burke got lit up, and I just don't think they're gonna have that chance this time. If Jack Sawyer keeps playing the way he does, goodness gracious, just he's nuts. Offensively, I'm fine. I'm not too concerned. Really, I'm not overconfident, right? I'm trying to keep level headed, but I also believe that this is a team that can beat Oregon, and yeah, I'm very confident with it. I think that the guy who's going to have a big game, I really truly believe is going to be one of the two running backs. I think that's where it's going to have to be, both in the passing game and in the rushing game, and I think that's going to be huge for Ohio State. Again, the offensive line's got to play well, defense has got to play well, but I do think it's a winnable game, and I'm interested to see how it goes. Yeah, my prediction has been since Saturday. I've kind of had to adjust it because I was kind of low, but I think it's gonna be something like 28 Ohio State, 24 Oregon. I think it's gonna be real tight, but I think Ohio State's gonna be able to control the game in their pace. Well, that means kind of like the Tennessee game where they got two scores right away, and then they were able to kind of pace it out. I think that's what key for Ohio State. If they get ahead, you can't keep them up. You can't keep up with them. So I think Ohio State needs to get on ahead early and then go from there. But I think it's gonna be a close game, 28-24 Ohio State.
Yeah, those are the couple of things you just said are the things that you gotta, I guess, keep in mind is Ohio State's defense being prone to giving up the explosive plays, and Oregon definitely took advantage of that last time. Also, Dan Lanning just being more of a defensive coach, I'm wondering how he will scheme up against, I guess, the Ohio State offensive line and how they got to shuffle around, although they have been playing very well, and I mean, Tennessee's a good defense to be able to protect against, but still just the difference is, I guess, between Josh Heupel being an offensive-minded guy and Dane Lane being a defensive-minded guy. I'll be curious to see how the offensive line holds up in that one for them. And then, yeah, I think or not the offensive, the offense for Ohio State is looking a lot better, like overall. You're getting the skill guys involved that need to be. Will Howard was looking more confident, taking more shots downfield, and I think that could really be key in a game like that, just to be able to open up the field more and have to spread Oregon around. I mean, that's what we saw in the Michigan game. When you get everything tight, like
Yeah.
it's not really going to work. You gotta get it to the outside of those skill guys and let them work. And I mean, Oregon's still a good team. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, Heisman finalist, he's been around for a while and he's got his weapons over there, and it's not going to be easy. But man, if Oregon is able to beat Ohio State two times in this season, I'd be very impressed. And this is more so just I mean, this is two good teams. Don't let the one seed and the eight seed fool you.
No,
I think
no, no,
I
no.
think the talent is a lot closer. I think Oregon should have been able to play Arizona State or Boise State in this one, but turns out they all get first round byes, but that's besides the point. Ohio State and Oregon, I think will be a close matchup just like the first time it was. I'm going to add a little more points to than you, I think, but I think Ohio State will come out with a victory here. I'm going to go ahead and say Ohio State 37, Oregon 34.
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
And a 3-point win right there must mean that Ohio State's kicker had
Oh
a not
gosh, please
so
no.
below average game.
Oh, don't remind me, dude. The kicker, dude. They better go out and get it. Need to get like seven kickers and have them all try out because
Yeah,
I'm
you gotta
so done
figure
with
you
kicking.
lost the Michigan. You could say you lost the Michigan game because of kicking, although there's a
Oh,
lot more
but if
things
you look at
involved.
the points, it would have been a win if
Yeah,
he just makes the
that's one
kicks.
thing where it's like if you make those easy kicks, right? The Georgia game in 2022, although it was a very
Mi-
long field goal and would have been hard to
Shank
make, I
that
mean,
bad
that's
boy.
you came close to beating Georgia, but yeah, came down to attempting a field goal to win it. But Yeah, this time around, I'm very excited to see this matchup a second time around. It almost could have been the third time that we could have seen it had
That would
that
have been
Michigan game
fun.
gone
Oh, that'd
differently.
been so
But
cool.
yeah, but we might not have gotten the 1 versus 8 seed right there in the second round with Oregon and Ohio
True.
State either.
Yeah, true, true.
They might have been facing maybe they'd have to make the national championship for that to happen or
Yeah.
something. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, let's talk more of these games. So we'll start with we'll go to Friday or not Friday, Tuesday.
Dude, your
Tuesday
days
with
are all
Penn.
messed up.
I'm not used to Wednesday being the day, yeah. But I know that Boise State and Penn State play the day before the other ones. So
What a game,
Ashton
dude.
Genty
This is just
is going to
awful.
go up against probably the second best defense that he's
Uh,
played this year, but we know he did well against Oregon the first time. Uh, ran for 3 scores, about 200 yards in that one, and Penn State's got one of the top rush defenses in the country too,
yeah.
Ben. So Boise State's offense is, as we know, is they like to hand it to Genty over 30 times a game.
Really? No, I couldn't tell.
Yeah. Yeah. So are they going to be able to do that against another big team
Dude,
like Penn State? Penn State also hopes to run the football well too.
I
I think
I don't know, man. This is such a bad game. Like it's just such a terrible game to watch. Like no offense to Boise State or Penn State. It's just not entertaining game. I don't know. Like would you say if you like blindly was like, "Hey, you going to go watch the Penn State Boise State game?" I don't think anybody's jumping out of their seat to go watch it.
out of it's tough to say because I think 2 run heavy teams, like the only way that this is like fun is if Boise State plays Penn State just the way they played Oregon, but it also has the potential for Penn State just to totally, outclass them with bigger, stronger, faster kids, higher talent on the roster.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of those matchups in the first round how they went. But yeah, I mean, Ohio State and Oregon is probably the matchup that I'm most excited to see, and I'd say Notre Dame, Georgia is probably the second most. Texas, Arizona State doesn't excite me too much. I think I actually might be looking more forward to Penn State, Boise State.
Yeah, I think Janty gives a lot of that.
There's a lot of that,
I
yeah. It's
I'll be
mostly I want
honest
to
with
see
you.
Genty against another big time team.
You're gonna hate me when I do this.
Okay.
I really think Boise State's gonna win this game, and here's why.
Okay, I didn't see that coming when you were talking negatively about the matchup.
No, it's just such a boring matchup. That's generally why I don't like it. No, I think one is I think Genty. Look, Penn State. What happened against Ohio State when Ohio State was rolling? Right, they couldn't keep certain playmakers, kind of settled in. Right, the guys who have big runs here and there, they'd bring out. Genty has like bounced off people. He has jumped over people. He's had 4 guys wrapped around him. He still finds a way to get 12 yards. I don't know if Penn State can. Now, again, I have to see Boise State do something other than just hand the ball off. But I'll say this: if Boise State gets a 7-0 lead, I would not be shocked if Boise State wins this game by only scoring one more touchdown because I think at that point you pace the game the way you want it to be paced. If Penn State gets up, that's when now it starts getting a little iffy. So that's why I've been kind of tossing this back and forth. But generally, I just think one, Genty's a great story, but I think two, like Boise State just has that secret, kind of like Arizona State, that secret sauce that no one can really figure out, but they just somehow keep winning. Um, and so for me, I think Boise State pulled this one out. I think again, Franklin, he just does not do well in these big games that when they need a win to keep going. And so for me, I'm gonna go Boise State 20, Penn State 14.
I will agree with you that I think it's going to be low scoring because both of these teams do like to run the ball. There's just going to be a lot more clock eaten up. Simple as that. But I'm going on the Penn State side. And as tempting and as hopeful as I am that this can be a close game, I'm gonna go based on what I saw from the matchups in the first round. It's like, okay, a team that's bigger, stronger, faster, has more highly touted recruits is just gonna totally outclass somebody on a playoff scene. And the only difference this time is it's not gonna be on a home field somewhere. And
Yeah.
even if it was, it'd be Boise State's home field anyways. But I'm going Penn State. I think that they will take advantage of the fact that they had the easiest draw, getting to go against SMU, and then Boise State is what I think any team would have wanted if they could, have their pick at it. Penn State's a team like we usually say can beat the teams they're supposed to, but when they got to play a team like Ohio State or Oregon, they don't measure up. But They did play Ohio State close. I think they lost by 2 scores to Oregon, so it's not surprising that they lost. But that Ohio State game was a one that they had to battle for, and I think that they are built to battle against Penn State. And even still, like as good as Genty played against Oregon, at the end of the day, it was Oregon coming out with a win. So I'm going to go ahead and go Penn State, and I think it's going to be a larger margin of victory. I'll give Genty 2 scores and give Boise State 14, but I'm going to give Penn State 27.
No, I totally agree with you. Like if that happens, then yeah, I could see it. I just
But I agree with you in the sense that it's like for either team to get that lead, that first score is very important when trying to do what you want to do, like we've been saying.
yeah, like we've seen Boise State kind of come back from being down scores, but Penn State we've seen in big games like Ohio State and other games. I mean, when they get behind, they just struggle. They just can't figure it out.
Yeah,
So
some teams
that's
can't
what,
play from behind.
yeah.
We'll go into the Wednesday slate then. We got Texas and Arizona State. Like I said, the game that I'm
It's just a
probably the
word.
least
Oh,
excited about, but
such a terrible game. It's just
well, we'll find out. But Arizona State, I think, is a fun story when you look at
yeah,
where they've come from. Kenny Dillingham being in his second year, taking them from what was it, 3 or 4 wins the year before to win the Big 12 this season. Your first year in that conference, as previously been in the Pac-12. Sam Lovett's a tough kid that I know they're
yeah, very
excited
tough kid.
about
Yeah,
for the next couple of years at quarterback. Cam Scadaboo has been fun to watch as far as like all-purpose yards and just
Scattaboo.
multi-talented uh, kid there. Wish him the best, but
Some would say that he's a scat back.
Scatback.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. It's just a bad joke. Bad joke. We'll move on. We'll
All
move
right.
on.
Well, yeah, I think that yeah, Texas, I mean, they're just gonna come out and do what they do. As iffy as I was on them last week, I got the confirmation I needed to get going against Clemson, a top 10 talent roster. They're able to beat Texas A&M in ugly fashion. It's just the Georgia for whatever reason has had Texas's number, but against a team that they are definitely better than, that they got more talent than. I don't think it's going to be close. I think that this game could actually potentially be the biggest blowout out of all the second round games, even though it's technically the 4 and the 5 seed. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that Texas is gonna win this one, 38 to 17. I think it's gonna be a whooping on the Sun Devils, but
So,
big first step for Kenny Dillingham in that program. But Texas is gonna move on to bigger and better things in this postseason.
some would think that I would choose Arizona State with my last pick, but no, I kind of agree with everything you said. But also, like Texas reminds me of like the Yankees from 2010 to now. Like they're very good, but there's just certain teams and certain times of the year where they just suck. I think that's where kind of we're at with Texas. Um, I think right now they're fine, but I'll be interested to see how they get as they get to like facing Georgia or Ohio State or some of these other teams.
Yeah, like once we actually get to a
Um,
4 team field and all the
yeah,
teams that
I'll
are
be
left
interested
are
to
the ones
see.
that should have
Yeah,
been
yeah,
in.
yeah. Be interested to see what happens then. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think they're gonna run away with this game, and I think it's gonna be like I'm gonna go 42 to 14. I just struggle to see how Arizona State can do anything against this Texas team. Maybe I'm gonna be wrong, but I really really just don't think so.
Yeah, we haven't really gotten to see Arizona State in a game like this, like the teams that they've been playing. I
No,
mean, say what you want about the Big 12, as fun of a conference as it's been and as fun as some of the matchups have been. They just
it's a
don't
very
have the
mediocre
teams.
conference. It's
Yeah,
very
they just don't
mediocre.
have the teams that like
Some would
Kansas
say it's
State
worse
isn't
than the
gonna.
ACC.
Yeah, like teams like getting to play Kansas State and
It
BYU and
doesn't get you
stuff
ready
like
for
that
this
isn't
game.
going to.
Doesn't get you
Yeah,
ready
it's
for this
it's
game.
not going to get you ready for a game like this. So that leaves us with Notre Dame and Georgia, and I'm very iffy on how this one could go because we know Carson Beck ain't going to play, but that could be a
They say he might have
addition
Tommy John surgery, which is just funny for a quarterback in
for
a
a
way.
quarterback. But the way that he's played this year, you could make the
Oh,
case that it's
yeah, I know.
addition by subtraction. We don't really know what this backup quarterback is going to be like, although the only thing we know about him is that they were down in that Texas SEC championship game and he led them back to a victory. Um, Notre Dame, as you said, they like to play bully ball, big time on the defense, big time on the offensive line, running the football. Georgia, I mean, that's been their brand for the last several years too, is bully ball. But they just haven't been able to really play that way because they don't
Yeah.
haven't had the guys that they're used to having. But it's a style that they like to play. I'm also hesitant to give Marcus Freeman like is this much confidence in a scene like this
Oh yeah.
when you have the ability to lose to teams like Northern Illinois or Marshall or other teams like that in the past, but you also have that ability to win games that you maybe shouldn't. And I didn't have any doubt that they were going to get it done with IU, but Georgia is just like how much is I guess how much more important is the experience going to be at this scene, and how much could Notre Dame potentially be limited also by their pass game? Like Riley Leonard didn't have to do a whole lot. He just finished the season with about 2,000 yards. If they can't get that run game going, and Georgia for whatever reason can get to a lead, how will Notre Dame do it playing behind? Because they haven't had to play in many
They don't
close
have any
games
great
this season.
receivers either.
Right. They haven't had to play in many close games this season. So,
Oh, most of that happens when you don't have to play in a conference.
well, they've played Louisville, they've played Army, they've played Navy, they've played Texas A&M, and they've gotten those wins. So I think the overall body of work for Notre Dame
No,
is
I
one of the
agree. I
better
just
ones
don't
in the
play it
field.
here.
It's just like they've done really well. Like Texas A&M was a close one. I'm trying to find the games this year to see like when the last time is that they even had to really sweat. Uh, and the answer is probably Louisville. And back in September when they only
Whoa.
won by 7. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I think both these teams want to play the same style of football, but I'm going to lean experience in this one, Ben, and go with Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs, who have also had a very good body of work. Probably the only other team that has a better body of work than Notre Dame. They've been tested. They've had to go up against some of the tough teams this season, and I think they will go ahead and get another one done. I'll take Georgia. Uh, I'll take Georgia 30-20.
Yeah, I was kind of going back and forth a little bit, but I don't trust Notre Dame in these big games, especially when Riley Leonard has barely thrown the ball this year. And in big games, we've seen it all the time. It always comes down, it feels like, to the quarterback making a good throw somewhere, and I just don't know what that is for them this year. And so with that, I'm just gonna go even with Georgia with the backup quarterback. I'm gonna go a little lower scoring than you might have put. I'm gonna go Georgia 24, Notre Dame. Let's go 17.
Yeah, I feel funny saying like Notre Dame because of quarterback might not win this game when Georgia's literally going to battle with a backup quarterback, but
Yeah, but they also have, championship rings under their belt. That's how I kind of see it as.
they do. I think though, yeah, I think just they're going to get contributions from more than just their quarterback. And hopefully Notre Dame, if they're going to win this game, are going to continue to get contributions from all around besides their quarterback too.
Yeah.
So that's the playoff field. We'll see what happens. But sticking on football, you want to talk
Well,
about
do we
that?
want to talk about Ohio State, Oregon? Did we already do
We
that
did.
one?
Yeah,
Did I
we
give
did.
a
We did that one
prediction?
first.
I did. I did give a prediction. I'm
You
sorry.
did.
I'm just
We went a little out of order,
I
but
just got my
of how the
brain
games
all
are going to play.
jabumba. Do we really need to talk about the Browns? Oh,
We're not really going to say anything
they're
different than
so bad, dude.
what we have been all year, but it was
Hurt my heart.
DTR's first start of the season,
And
right?
is Miles Garrett getting traded? Because that's what he sounded like in his interview.
He needs to know if or what their plan is to win now,
I love
basically,
how that's basically
or else he
two
doesn't want to be a
shots.
part
That's
of
a
it.
shot at the front office and also Deshaun Watson saying, "I don't believe in you."
Yeah, after telling the media all about how great he is in practice and how much they believe in him and stuff, but
Now he's just like double middle finger.
yeah, so you got Miles Garrett going against the front office. You got fans that are canceling or actually canceling. Some of them have been posting about it, canceling season tickets either because they are going to go with Deshaun Watson, as it was reported, or because they want to move the stadium to Brook Park. It's just front office isn't doing themselves any favors right now. It's actually crazy how much the fan base is tolerated, over the last couple decades, and now where they've reached their breaking point. They've had it, and they want they want to root for a freaking winning football team.
Yeah, it's just just rough, but
But one
is
thing
what it
is for
is.
sure, Ben, I don't think Dorian Thompson Robinson is the answer at quarterback
No, he
either.
sucks. He's so bad, dude. He is so bad. And I love what someone said, like Will Howard's not an NFL quarterback. I'm like, I would take Will Howard on that team right now than Dorian Thompson Robinson. 100%. It's not even a question.
Yeah. 157 yards, zero touchdowns,
He
two
looks like he
picks.
looks like a child out there playing an adult game.
Very small. Yeah. Yeah,
I
just
mean, that
totally
leads into that leads
outsized
into
by those guys.
that leads into I think let's just recap. I know we both talked about it for the show. We're gonna recap. I think kind of what's going on with the draft order. I think it's a great segue for the draft order, and then also what's happening around the NFL races, and then we can kind of finish up the show with a few other thoughts.
Yeah, let me go ahead and see if I can find that graphic that people have been
The
posting.
Browns are in the top five. That's all I
They
know.
are. They were
Not high enough
fourth.
to get a good quarterback, but
Yeah. Here it is. Okay, so the 2025 draft order as we're recording, the Giants would have the first overall pick,
that is just funny to me.
followed by the Jags, the Titans, the Browns, the Raiders, the
Oh,
Patriots, the Panthers, the Jets.
dude, the Panthers getting the oh goodness. Yeah, it's interesting, man. I'm curious. I just want to touch with this because we won't go through obviously the scenarios, but let's say the Browns get a top four pick or top five pick. In your mind, what do they do? Because my feeling is they're going to try to reach for a quarterback, which is going to bother me. Um, what do you think they should do if they don't have a top two pick where they can go get a quarterback, or a top three pick where they can get a quarterback, or Travis Hunter? What should they do? My gut is O line, but that's just my thought.
Yeah. I even if we had a top two pick, I wouldn't feel good about taking any of the quarterbacks, but I guess you'd have to go with Shadur or something like that if you were in that boat. But even at four, like as tempting as it is to go out and get Travis Hunter, I don't think he really helps us as much as like what an offensive lineman could do right now. Like when our secondary is fully healthy and you got Ward and you got Newsom back there and you got uh
Delpit.
yeah, Delpit back there and yeah, we got a lot of kids back there that are strong. But then at wide receiver, I don't know what position Travis Hunter is going to play, but you got to feel a little bit better
He's
about
not
the
going
way
to
the
play both
receiving.
ways. I want everyone to know that
Yeah,
now. He's not playing both ways. Like it's just not going to happen in the
yeah.
NFL.
Natural position's corner. He's won the Biletnikoff though as the best receiver in college football, so he could go either way. But even if he was to go receiver, it's just like I don't know how much he helps the room with Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Njoku at tight end. Like I would rather go and get somebody that can
Like
like actually go and help
I, I would rather go first round
now
you get an
rather
offensive
than a rookie.
lineman,
Yeah,
and then
so I'm leaning offensive line.
second or third round, take a shot on a quarterback. Like just see what happens. Like get a Will Howard or get a Quinn Ewers or someone like that, right? Like go out and get someone that you're not risking a first round pick. You're getting a quality guy in the first round. Then you can go back and maybe trade up into late first round or something. Just don't waste that fourth pick on just a stupidity pick.
Yeah, even when Deshaun Watson was healthy and he was doing, all his stupid plays, a lot of it could be attributed to bad offensive line play. There just wasn't a whole lot of time to protect, and we need to go
And
ahead
guys are
and
getting old.
boost that up. Yeah, as good as our offensive line has been the past several years, losing Callahan as that coach, and then just as injury riddled as it been, and just some guys like Jedrick Wills just never panning out. And I wish that guy would just leave. Like offensive line might be the way to go.
Yep, agreed. How are the races
Also,
looking?
Also, just looking at like the top eight picks, like none of these teams even have 5 wins yet.
Nope.
Just, but we do have a couple more games left to play, so there is the chance to do that. But yeah, as far as the standings go, teams that we know are in are the Buffalo Bills, uh, Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, Houston Texans, Kansas City Chiefs out of the AFC. So we got one, two, three, four, five of the 7 spots locked up, Ben. The only teams that haven't been mathematically eliminated yet are the Dolphins, the Bengals, the Colts, Chargers, and the Broncos.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the AFC right now. So let me see here. I'm just checking to see like how many of these teams I thought would make the playoff that are mathematically eliminated, and Cleveland is one of those. But hey, the Colts have done better than I thought they would. The Bengals, as bad as they've been, still got a shot. The Jets totally flopped, but yeah, between two spots, we got the Chargers and the Broncos both at 9-6 right now. We got
Yeah.
the Colts and Dolphins and Bengals at 7-8. So we got a couple games left. You could say the Chargers and the Broncos take care of
I
business.
I
It'd
think
have to be pretty bad to mess this up.
the Chiefs are like they're like the most 8-7, 13-1 team of all time. Like generally they're like they don't even look good. It's just they have the best player in the world, and that changes everything.
Hmm. I'll tell you what, though, the Chargers, they got to play the Patriots and the Raiders, two 3-win teams. I think they'll be okay. I think they're going to
And
get one of these spots.
of course Harbaugh's gonna be okay. That just drives me nuts.
Denver's got to play the Bengals and the Chiefs. That's probably the
Bengal
hardest
and the
path.
thing is the Bengals need the Broncos to lose out to even have a shot. So
Yeah. Yeah. So Broncos probably got the toughest path. Looking at the Colts, they play the Giants and the Jags, so easy path, but also you need the Broncos ahead of you to lose two games too. The Dolphins, they got to play the Browns and the Jets, easy path, but again, you're two games back, so you need other teams ahead of you to suck. And the Bengals got the Broncos and the Steelers, also hard path.
ooh, it's gonna be
Yeah.
fun. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting watching those last. But I think the Chargers are a lock, and I would think even though the Broncos can gotta win one of those games, but even still, if they lose out and they go 9-8, I don't know if many of the teams below them are gonna win out to be able to jump them.
Yeah, agreed.
NFC, the teams that are a lock are the Lions, the Eagles, the Vikings, and everything else is open, Ben.
It's an open season, as they would say.
Open season in the NFC, dude. Uh, yeah, as crazy as it sounds, teams in the NFC South and the NFC West have no one's even like punched a ticket yet.
That's wild to me.
And
That's
that's
just wild.
because Tampa Bay and Atlanta are winning that division, the South
Dude,
division at 8-7 right
the
now.
NFC South is the worst division in football. It's not
It's
even
the worst
close.
division football. They're both 8-7 in first place right now. There's gonna be no wild card team coming out of there. They're
Dude,
gonna have
so
only a
bad.
division winner once
And that's
again,
with
probably.
Kirk Cousins possibly getting cut by Atlanta after the season. And yet they're willing to do that, but the Browns won't. It's just
Yeah, they gave
fascinating
him
to
a
me.
hundred and
How about
eighty
we just
some million or
swap?
whatever.
I'll take
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins. Let's just swap.
Looks like the same boat could be the case with the Rams and the Seahawks in NFC West. The Rams lead the division at 9-6. Seahawks are 8-7 in second. But just looking at some of these other divisions, Ben, like the NFC North, you
It's
got
just
Detroit at
unreal,
13
dude.
and 2, Minnesota at 13 and 2, Green Bay at 10 and 4, and then the Bears at 4 and 11.
And the Bears at one point were 4-2, and they've just lost everything since. So,
Washington is 10 and 5 and hasn't even
dude,
secured a spot yet.
Washington's nuts, man. That team's so weird.
They are. I'm just impressed that, well, it's just wild to me that Green Bay and Washington are 10 and 5, 10 and 4, and they haven't clinched a spot yet. So you get seven spots in the NFC, Ben, and one of them is going to go to one of those teams in the NFC West, and one of them is going to go to one of those teams in the NFC South. Two of them are already in the NFC North, and one is in the NFC East. So Washington and Green Bay could get those final two, but I guess Seattle, uh, there must be some way for Seattle to be able to get in over one of them. I don't know.
It's fascinating to me. Fascinating.
Yeah, winning 10 games and not getting the playoff would be crazy, but it could happen.
Yes, it could. Also,
All right, well,
We also talk about Miles Garrett becoming the first player ever to get 100 career sacks before the age of 29, which is wild to me. And also the fact that he is now like the fourth fastest ever to 100 sacks. It's wild.
yeah, it's kind of been done. I don't know if quietly is the right word, but there's just times where I watch Miles Garrett and I'm like, I think he could do so much better than what he's doing. I wish he
I feel like
could
he just chooses when he
put more
wants to go.
effort. Yeah, but even still, like you look at this and it's like, okay, like you said, the first to get under 129, one of the four fastest to get to 100 all time. It's like, no, like he's still like we're still seeing greatness out here.
Yeah.
Even though at times it seems like there could be more of it, like we're still seeing one of the best edge rushers of the
Yeah.
generation.
It's true. It is true.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I didn't have anything else to add for
Well,
football,
I
but
have a few things to
okay.
add. Well, not for football. Well, actually, one's for football. What do you think about Netflix and adding the NFL? How do you feel about that? I just feel like Netflix is going to be unwatchable for about 5 hours, but
Probably like there's gonna be so much traffic on there, not just for the football games,
like
but
Christmas
just everybody
movies.
wanting to watch the Christmas films and stuff on there that they got. Yeah, but the servers couldn't even handle like all the traffic they got for the Jake Paul fight.
And
Like
that's going
the
to be
NFL is
probably,
gonna draw an even
yeah.
bigger crowd than that for their games.
And the
Like,
fact that internationally you could finally watch the games. Like, I can't ever watch the games without getting like weird VPNs and stuff. Like now I'm going to be able to watch the game just from
yeah.
turning it on.
Like on the holidays when there's only one game to watch, it seems like the NFL does really well. Like they pull 30 some million views or something like that.
They're
And
saying they said there's a chance they'll double what the NBA is going to do, which that's not surprising because that's my second point there, Josh. I love how the veterans of the NBA have come out and said, we hate the new All Star format, which basically, if you don't know, they're basically having like four separate games equal then to the winners play each other or some weird pickup feels like rules. And they're complaining about it. And I'm going, um, this is your fault
yeah,
because you decided to not take it seriously. You decided to make the contest like the worst thing to watch. Honestly, the only thing that's doable to watch anymore is the 3-point contest. And you don't try hard on the All Star game. Like I miss when I was a kid and I would watch the All Star game and it was like actually the best players of basketball playing against each other in basketball. And so, um, Stephen A. has called him out. A lot of guys have called him out. Like this is your fault. Like you're the ones that
right.
started this. So, yeah, I'm interested to hear what you think about that and that how the NBA ratings keep going down. And I don't think this is going to make it any better.
Yeah, it's like exactly like you said. The guys that play are the ones responsible for this format change. Just like in the NFL, the Pro Bowl was unwatchable, and now they're trying to do all
And
these
it's
kind of
still
dumb things
unwatchable.
to make it exciting. And yeah, as a result, it's even less watchable than it was before. But yeah, the NBA, I mean, for everything that they're doing, it's not a surprise to me that the ratings are going down. Like you can forget about all the uh, moving around and free agency and guys sitting out because of
There's
load
guys shooting
management and
53s a game.
yeah, it's the style. Like right now, there's no team that's unique. Everybody plays the same style of basketball. Everybody plays heavy ISO, shoot 53s a game, no defense, and there's no uniqueness to the league right now. Like in
Except
the
the Cavs,
NFL,
who are number one in the NBA, which is ironic.
yeah. In the NFL, you get different styles. Teams come out, some of them prefer to run, some prefer to pass, some of them prefer, deep ball, some prefer to go like, dink and dunk. But in the NBA, you're seeing like no matter what the game is, you're seeing the same two teams over and over and over again. It seems like, and even looking at like some of these Christmas Day games, Ben, there's not really
There's nothing
any
that piques
matchup
your
out here that I'm like,
interest.
oh heck yeah, like I'm gonna watch this. Like,
Like I missed
and
the 2016 Cavaliers Warriors. Like that was fun to watch on Christmas Day.
yeah, like we got the Spurs and the Knicks, the Timberwolves and the Mavericks, which that one actually probably will be fun. 76ers, Boston, Lakers, Warriors, and then Nuggets, Suns. But yeah, it won't shock me if the NBA doesn't. I mean, the NBA has had Christmas, Ben, and the NFL's coming in and saying
We'll do
we're
it.
gonna we're gonna take a little piece of the pie, and yeah, it's probably gonna further tank ratings. So yeah, NBA's got to do something. I don't really know what it is. Like Colin Cowherd thinks that they need to make some rule changes, just as the NFL and the MLB have to try to make their product more watchable and entertaining. I don't know if that is get rid of 3-second violations, push the 3-point line back, or what, but they got to do something to make the game more fun.
Limit the amount of threes you can take instead of every time you go down there you chuck a three up. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
No,
that
and
could.
that's the way it is.
Say that again.
No, I said that is the way it is. I mean, that's just it's frustrating, but it is what it is, and I think that you know what, it's almost as frustrating, and this is a great segue. It's almost as frustrating as we have the little bit of baseball news we were going to share. It's almost as frustrating as what your Guardians have continued to do, and I'm sure are making you very happy inside.
Yeah. So once they
I can
made the
just see it on your
announcement,
face right now. I can just see
once
it.
they made the announcement they're canceling Guards Fest and making it like a one out of every 3 years thing, it turned out that it wasn't just because the owners are cheap, it's because there's not going to be anybody left on the roster that you want to come and meet and like do a meet and greet with because now Josh Naylor is gone.
That was like your
Uh,
favorite player last year.
that was one of my favorite guys, man. Christian Walker's over on Houston now, so that left a first base hole, and here Arizona is to steal a first baseman to replace
But
him.
you
And
signed
it
Carlos
was
Santana though. It's a replacement there.
38-year-old Carlos Santana with his third stint in Cleveland. Very exciting news. But you got
I love
in
this.
return you
Uh,
got like some kind of draft pick, and you got
some minor leaguers.
well, a pitcher that had a 6 ERA last year, split
Oh, the
time in the bullpen
classics,
and the
man. That's a
starting rotation.
classic
Yeah, so
classic Guardian signing.
it was a steal. We got absolutely hosed and robbed in this trade. It wasn't even like they wanted anything in return at all. They probably would have just said for free, but Diamondbacks like, no, we have to give something, and they're like, okay. So no Andres Jimenez
Uh,
now, no Josh Naylor.
well, who's next? That's the question. Who's next?
Well, who's next? It's tough to say. It could be Stephen Kwan.
Dude, you
They're
went
still
from
not.
being so excited like a year and a half ago about the Guardians, and now you're just so depressed.
Well, it's like we didn't even have anybody really good on our team, and we somehow still made the ALCS. And now instead of playing from a place of power, we're playing from a place of we got to rebuild. It's like, no,
It almost feels
we're
like
one of the teams running the league right now. We don't
is
need to
this
do this.
is your team run by Joe Biden? It sounds very familiar to something else he runs right now. Very,
Something
very
like that,
similar.
yeah.
Like
But
selling things that you don't really need anymore. Giving away just perfectly good objects to other, foreign adversaries. I wonder,
weapons,
wow, it's very interesting
giving
how
weapons
it's
to
isn't
other
it kind of
organizations.
ironic how it's kind of the same thing. Huh. You almost need something to make the Guardians great again. Huh.
Yeah, eventually this Blitzer dude's supposed to assume all ownership. He's just a minority owner right now, and maybe things will be different then. But as it stands right now, it's like, okay, well, we just made all this extra revenue from the ALCS, and I guess we're just going to pocket it all. So I'm going to probably, Ben, pocket more of my money and time and not give
Do you
this
want to go
team
to
the
a
time
Reds
of
game,
day once
man?
summer comes around.
Go to some Reds games. That'd be fun. This year,
I'm
Terry
gonna go to other
Francona.
games.
But Terry Francona's down there now.
I'm gonna try to go around to some other stadiums this summer. But yeah, as far as like why should I give any of my time and money to this organization when from they don't even want to operate from a place of power when they have the opportunity? Beats me. But yeah, they're if they don't extend Stephen Kwan anytime soon, they'll probably send him away next too, and it'll be all about building towards 2028, Ben, because why try to compete in 2025 when you can try to build to compete 3 years from
This
now?
is why I love being an Ohio fan because dude, we just never can get like just nothing is good. Like there's just we get so close and then the owners are just like, "No. You can't have happiness. You live in Ohio."
Nope. And then see a couple other free agent moves go down. Walker Buehler signs a deal with Boston. As I said, Christian Walker on the move out to Houston. And we also saw Sean Manoah decide to stay with the Mets. Um,
Also, we
Yanks,
have
as
the
we said
guy
last time, got Bellinger.
then
So
we also have
there's
the guy from Japan, that Suzuki or Sukota, some whatever. Like one of the best. He's only like 24. He's one of the best young pitchers. Basically, he's like a shorter, not as good batter version of Shohei. But he's also talking about going to the Dodgers. Can you imagine that? Great. Three Japanese pitchers on the Dodgers. That would just be something else.
yeah. That's not a guy that I'd expect to get, but it's just like, geez, man, we're not even making any effort to get anybody this offseason. It's
It's
crazy.
just so fun. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anything else you want to add for the week, or shall we wish everyone a Merry Christmas as we go?
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up and
Yeah.
good show.
Well, yeah. So we want to wish you all again a Merry Christmas. Hope you guys got everything you wanted from Santa. Make sure you guys left the cookies, in the milk. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. But I hope you guys were able to enjoy this. If you've loved enjoy watching it on YouTube, go click that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. And if you love listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you give us a nice rating, leave us a comment, share with your friends and family. And I hope it is a white Christmas for you. I don't know if it's going to be for me. Well, record this too soon, but I hope it is for you guys. And I hope you guys have a great time with friends and family. And remember who the reason is for the season. And until next time, we'll see ya.